because the Provincial Social Development Department failed to meet its funding deadline for a third consecutive year. Joining us now, Lisa Vetten, Gauteng Care Crisis Committee Chairperson. Lisa, good to have you. Thank you very much for coming on. Are you surprised that they failed to meet this deadline again?
Really disappointed, actually, because there was a hope, I think, after last year with the new MEC and many promises made that at least organizations would start being paid in April this year. The department even issued a press release on the 29th of April saying that payments were going to start on 29th of April, but the first payments only came in on the 9th of May. And from the press release they issued on Thursday this week, there's still about 500 organizations outstanding to be paid.
What is the reason that has been given about this missing of the deadline?
The department doesn't really like to give reasons. I mean, on the one hand, one doesn't expect it to be paid on the 1st of April when new money comes in from Treasury at the start of the financial year. But I mean, I think from what we can see, deadlines were missed because you should ideally already have signed contracts by at the very latest mid-March, so that by the time money comes into the department, everything is in place and the money can start flowing freely. Unfortunately, the department only started signing contracts in the middle of April and was continuing to sign them into round about the end of May, and in fact is still signing contracts. So I think they've still got to get those processes right in that respect. Plus, there are also organizations who still don't know if they're being paid or not. And they're still waiting for letters of rejection from the department, which they can then appeal, which means the process for them, if their appeals are successful, is going to be even longer before they get paid.
There have been calls from, for example, the Democratic Alliance for the Public Protector and even the Auditor General to investigate this due to the impact on the social welfare services and failure. Do you think this will at least uncover what is actually going on there?
That could be helpful. I mean, I think the delays are very serious. I mean, for example, especially for residential facilities where you have people in your care and you have to buy food for them. So, I mean, one already knows, for example, domestic violence shelters, one of the Care Crisis Committee members. Last week's staff was buying food for people for the women in their shelter. They only got their money in at the beginning of this week. In another organization, also a residential facility for people with disabilities, staff have had to work on half pay in April in order to ensure that there was still money for food for residents. And here we are, 6 days away from payday, more or less, and money has still not arrived.
Now, is there a challenge, I suppose, in the relationship that you NPOs and the current MEC, maybe even the former MEC, would have had that need some kind of mending, maybe a sit around the table and just an understanding of each other?
Yes, I think with the current MEC, there has been some mending of relationships. I must say they still get very irritated with us for raising these issues, but I think it's important. There has to be transparency and accountability, and the department needs to accept that at the end of the day, NGOs' primary purpose is to serve their beneficiaries. And so if they can't do that effectively, it is important that they hold the department to account. And I think the other thing that also needs to happen, which the department hasn't ever done, is they need to comply with the National Department of Social Development sector funding policy, which says that every year the department must put up on its website the names of each organization it's funded as well as how much. And that helps ensure transparency and accountability. It reduces suspicion. It helps understand what delays are all about. So I think if the department can see that as necessary, rather than just people being annoying and irritating and demanding, that would help.
Now, of course, there are also reports that there are concerns about new clauses that have been brought into some of the contracts. What do you know about that?
Yes, there are two clauses in particular. The first is that where the department has funded an organization to obtain a car, the department has put in a clause that says that organization must now be willing to drive around DSD officials who don't have cars and need cars. The department is not going to be reimbursing their petrol. And I think why you have to flag this is that the department this is also a year in which the department cut 200 million from the NPO budget in comparison to last year. So it's just under 200 million. So budgets are going to be less. So why they're now imposing an additional cost on organizations is unclear. Plus, there's of course staff's time. You're supposed to be serving your beneficiaries, not driving DSD officials around for the day. That's the one clause. The second clause expects either the director or the board to take personal liability for anything that goes wrong in the organization, which is very unreasonable. Now, in some parts of the province, regions have accepted organizations putting in an addendum saying that they're not in agreement with these clauses and they're signing under pressure because they need the funding. But we've also had other parts of the province, notably Johannesburg region in particular, who have threatened organizations that if they do not sign, they will not get funding.
Sure.
And that is really troublesome because the contract should be negotiated between equals, not imposed by one party on another. And especially when other parts of the province have accepted the organization's reservations and concerns.
So you're saying going forward, the other issue is that either the chairperson or the director must take full liability in their personal capacity for any future activities relating to the organization. What does that mean?
Well, it can mean all sorts of things. That if anything happens, if anything goes wrong, if the organization incurs any kind of debt that it can't pay, the department might be able to then go and seek it from that person in their personal liability. You know, those are some of the concerns. Should anything happen to anybody, the director becomes personally liable. So, I think what a lot of organizations have had to do is go and seek all sorts of insurance and put up all kinds of disclaimers to just make people aware of the situation.
Yeah. Is this, I suppose, clauses or work that is coming out of the task team that the Premier would have said would be formed to develop new standards of SLAs between the department and NGOs?
Tabo, you have hit the exact problem, is that the Premier asked for this task team to be set up. The task team was set up. In October, it simply stopped meeting. So there was no final contract negotiated and agreed between NPOs as the Premier had asked. Instead, they got the surprise SLA with these two new clauses in. Attempts writing to them has not been able to budge or open up the gates of negotiation. Letters requesting to meet to discuss further have simply not even been acknowledged. So, the next step one has to think about is writing to the Premier to say, you did ask for this, your officials haven't followed through, please assist.
Lisa, we appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on and highlighting these issues for us. Lisa Vetten, Gauteng Crisis Committee.